Hi, I'm Norma Hollis, and I bet you have said to someone recently, or maybe someone has said to you, just be authentic, as if being authentic is the solution for whatever it was you were dealing with at the time. And as if all you have to do is wake up in the morning and be authentic, as if it's as easy as snapping your finger. Well, I assure you, it is not. I have studied what it means to be authentic for the last 30 years, actually the last 40 years. And I've developed them. I'm an authenticity expert. And I want to talk to you today about 3 mistakes that I want you to avoid to make sure you're stepping into your authenticity. There's nothing that is more, brings more happiness and more joy and meaningfulness in your life than when you're living it with authenticity and truly being your authentic self. Well, number one thing to avoid is to avoid not knowing your values. Make sure you know what your values are, who you are, and what's important for you. You know, it's really values that drive our lives. If you think about the people who you are best friends with, don't you share the same values? Don't you enjoy doing the same things or some of the things or talking about something similar from a similar perspective? And if you think about relationships that may not have worked in the past, I bet there's a values conflict there somewhere that caused the relationship to break up. That's just how important values are. And you know, when you know your values, you make decisions faster. You're able to discern whether or not the opportunity that's in front of you is something that is aligned with your value system or whether it is not. And if you want to be authentic, it's really important that you are aligned with your value system. You first have to know what it is. Then to make sure the things that you do, the behaviors that you express to the world are aligned with those values. Because actually your value system is one way that you communicate who you are. When you talk to people and you start to reveal some of yourself and you begin to identify people knowing you from whether you are someone who wants to help humanity maybe, or someone who wants to make $1 million or somewhere in between. There's no judgment on any of them. Whatever your values are, what your values are. But just acknowledge them and know them and live them and be them. But you can't do that unless you know what your values are. So what I suggest to you is just take some time, take a few days, a month even, and start making a list of the things that are important to you, the things that might be your values. And when you feel like you've written everything you can think of that's important, then go back and prioritize your list and maybe find what are the top 5 things that are important to you, your top 5 values, and then examine how you're living them or what you might want to just tweak in your life. Just make a small change in your life so that you can step into your values. If you find that you're not living your values, then you give that some thought, reflect on it, and see what modifications you might need to make in your life so that you are living your values. That's one way, an important way to be authentic. Another mistake to avoid is to go through life without being connected to your natural gifts and talents. All of us were born with a unique set of natural gifts and talents. There are 9 of them that I refer to. They're from Dr. Howard Gardner's Multiple Gifts of Intelligence. I like to call them the wisdom gifts. And what I suggest to people is that you're probably happiest if you are living your life doing one of the things that are in the top 3 of your gifts and talents. If you're not expressing yourself through your natural gifts and talents, then you're probably missing some of the joy that can be available to you in life. So let me just tell you what those 9 gifts and talents are, and think about which ones relate to you and which ones might be your top 3. First is verbal, people who like words. They like to talk, they speak, they like to write, they like to read, all things regarding words. There's visual, people who like color, people who, it's actually visual / spatial. So these are people who can work space together. They're fine artists. The artwork that you see, the pictures that you see, People who like colors, you see I have colors around me, I got a little visual in me. They're very vibrant in how they look at life. There's bodily kinesthetic, and that means people who like to move around. They're dancers, they're athletes, they like to put their body in motion and have energy going. That's how they learn, that's how they live their life, that's how their brain works through the motion. People who like to be in nature, people who like to be outside, and they love the sound of the wind, the ocean, they love the trees, the greenery, they like to hug trees. They may be landscapers, they work outside as much as possible, and they play outside a lot. There's mathematical logical, and that's people not only who might like math, but particularly who can see the big picture. They're problem solvers. It may not be as recognizable when they're very young, but as you get older and you do well in school and you are able to see relationships and the sequencings of things, that means you're mathematical logical. There's musical. Musical is kind of obvious. People who like to tap their feet, snap their fingers, dance is part of that, write music, play music, sing, those kind of things. And then there is interpersonal. Interpersonal are people who are very gregarious. They love people, love to be around people. They always don't like to be alone. They like to always be around people. And in contrast to that is intrapersonal, people who enjoy being alone. They learned by going in. A lot of monks and priests are in that, but not just that. A lot of speakers actually are very introverted and intrapersonal and go inside a lot. Writers oftentimes are intrapersonal. And then there's existential. And existential has to do with what I call the wooey wooey. So people who maybe talk to animals or they feel aligned with the universe, they're your energy healers and people that have a little deeper understanding of the world and of life. So of those 9, which ones are you? Which ones are your top ones? You are most authentic when you're living your life in one of your top 3 gifts and talents. So identify which are your top 3 and ask yourself how they show up in your life, how you are integrating them, incorporating them in the things you do on a day-to-day basis, or at least on a week-to-week basis. So examine that. And when you can do that, you step more into your authenticity. If you're not living those top 3, then ask yourself, what can you tweak? What can you just shift a little bit in your life that will allow you to bring that into your life? You'll probably find that you have a lot more peace and contentment when you do that. Now, the third thing that would impact your authenticity and is a mistake that many people make, and actually it kind of comes on its own, and you kind of have to wake yourself up to realize it. And that is not being the person you truly are. Because so many of us grow up and live the life that somebody else designed for us or thought was best for us. And it happens very early in our preschool years. When we're in preschool, we get to the classroom and we're told, so good to see you. Where do you want to play today? You want to go to the jungle gym, or you want to play in the dramatic play corner? Do you want to do art or paint something? What would you like to do? And when you have to go to the bathroom, please go to the bathroom. Take care of yourself. You're a big boy, big girl now. But then you get to kindergarten and first grade and it's stand in line, raise your hand, hold it. You can't go to the bathroom yet. Don't talk. You can't choose what you want to do. You're going to do what I say you're going to do. And it's kind of a culture shock, and because you lost the freedom to be who you are. And you also may have lost that, and mommy told you you're singing too loud or dancing too much or beating that drum too much. So those are the things that take us away from our authenticity. And many people lose that very early in kindergarten and first grade, and they end up in cubby holes all of their lives and never know how to get out of them. I used to own a speakers bureau, and I would meet a lot of people who would come to me after being in a work environment for 10 or 20 years. And they'd tell me, I'm so glad to be not working anymore because now I can be myself. I can do what I want to do with my life. Because when you're working environment, you're often having to do what the board tells you have to do. And it may not be what you really want to do. And it might keep you from doing what is your purpose, what you were really sent here to do. People who are authentic generally have some perspective on what their purpose is. Many of us know we have purpose, and we may not quite know what it is. Well, the more you connect with your values, with your gifts and talents, with being the person you were born to be, the more you'll connect with your authenticity. If you can avoid those three mistakes, the mistake of not being clear on your values, just examine yourself and see what's important to you. Not knowing your gifts and talents, go through that list of 9 that I just gave you a few minutes ago and reiterate which ones are your top 3 and decide what you're going to do about them and how you're going to incorporate them more in your life. And take some time and just think about, am I really being me? Am I really clear on who I am? Am I happy doing what I'm doing? And if your answers are no to that, that you don't know who you are, that you're not happy and you want to go deeper into who you are, then do that. I encourage you. So I'd like to leave you with a gift. My gifts are at giftsfromnorma.com. And sometimes I have one, sometimes I have several, but that's where you can go to and you can refer to that site whenever you like because I switch up the gifts from time to time. But you'll find something on there that will be of value for you. It'll get you on my list so I can send you some more information. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to reach out to you if you reach out to me. I'm Norma Hollis, and I look forward to you, seeing you, meeting you, and I encourage you to avoid the mistakes and step into your authentic life. Take care.